Hello, so today we will be setting up Q replication between two databases. One is my active database, where my application remains active and changes are being made to my tables. And one is a standby server with no database currently there. So I also have my application running on my primary database and making changes. So in this case, we're inserting 1,000 rows into my employee table every 5 seconds. So on the left side, I have my source database and source server. On the right side in the black window, I have my target server with no database. So the first step will be to create a database at the target server. And we'll let this run. So our target database finished creating. The next step is to run db2 look at the source to generate all my create DDL for all my objects such as tables, views, etc. So let's go ahead and run db2 look. And then we will SCP it to the other side. Let's get the host name here. Okay, so now that we've SCP'd it, we see the file here. And if we take a look, it has my create schema, my create table for the test.employee. We do need to change the connect to our target database. So now that we've done that, we can run it with db2 minus tvf. And it will go ahead and create my test.employee table on the target database. Currently, it has no data. We will use Q replication to load the table later. The next step is to set up and establish database connectivity between the two servers. So we have the script here on both sides, which will catalog the remote database and create something called an asnpwd file, which is an encrypted file used by replication to know which user ID and password to use when connecting to the databases. So let's go ahead and run this on both sides. So it ran. Let's try connecting to the remote server. So if we do connect to tgtdb, so Morthy, and then put our password. So now I can connect to the remote side. We'll try the same thing here. And I can connect to my source database from here. The last thing I want to show is the password file. So if we do asnpwd list, we can see that both files on both servers have both of the aliases so that replication can connect to the database. This is how replication knows which user ID to use. Okay, so the next step is to create the MQ objects. Q replication uses MQ message queues to replicate data across the network. So we'll go ahead and create our queue manager, our queues and channels for the network connectivity on both sides. So we have a script on both sides for the create MQ. Let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so it all ran. So now that we have MQ set up, the next step is to use a scripting language called ASNCLP to create our Q replication tables. They're just DB2 tables. They hold various metadata about the replication setup, such as which tables we're replicating, etc. So I'll go ahead and show the ASNCLP script right now. They're called control tables, but they're really just DB2 tables. And we'll run the ASNCLP from here. It will use our password file, which we created previously, to know which database to connect to. Okay. And it'll connect remotely to the target and create the apply control tables also. So there's capture at the source and apply at the target. So it'll create those sets of tables on both sides. So now if we do db2 list connect to srcdb here, and we do a db2 list tables for schema ASN, we can see our tables there. Let's connect to the target here. Tables for schema ASN. So the schema doesn't have to be ASN. For this case, we are using ASN to create our tables here. Okay. The next step is to also use another ASN CLP script to create our Q subscriptions for our workload. So we have a create sub script here. And at the bottom here, we're doing a create Q sub for our test.employee table. So for each table you want to replicate, you will have a separate Q subscription. So we'll go ahead and run this now. Oops. Create sub. Okay, so now we've created our subscription based on our workload. So our workload is just for test.t1, test.employee. So we'll go ahead next to start capture and apply. So let's go ahead and start capture on the source first. So I'm putting it with no hub, so it starts in the background. Capture server is source DB. Capture schema is ASN. Monitor interval. This is how often we have monitor table. So every 10 seconds it will insert into the monitor table so we can check latency, etc. In start mode, warm SI. This will mean when capture starts, it will start reading from where it left off. In this case, we're starting capture for the first time. So capture will start reading from the end of the db2 active logs. Okay, we've started capture. Let's go ahead and start apply on the other side. Apply server is tgtdb. Apply schema is still ASN. And monitor interval, which I'll copy from there, is also 10,000. So it can be as high or low as you want. You can make it 1 second, you can make it 1 minute, etc. So we're making it 10 seconds. So we start apply. The next step, we can take a quick look here and see that we have our capture logs. I'm just going to tail F it just to see what's going on. Capture did start, and the subscription has started. If we do a tail ls here at the apply side, we can see the apply log. Just take a quick look. So apply has loaded the tables. If we has loaded our table test.employee, it says rows loaded about 1 million rows. So that's great. So if we do a select now from our table, or first let's take a look at our monitor table. So we have a script here, capqmon. This is a Q replication monitor table. So we can see that every 10 seconds, Capture is publishing about 200 rows, which makes sense because our workload is inserting about 100 rows every 5 seconds. So every 10 seconds, 200 rows. And we have a similar table at the target called the ApplyMon table. And if we take a look here, our end-to-end latency, this is in milliseconds, trans applied, so every 10 seconds, you can see here, it's 10 seconds. We're applying both transactions, and rows applied is also 200. So we can also just take a quick look at our count, employee, from. So, okay, and we can run the same thing here. It may not match immediately. In this case, the target has more rows. If we rerun it, we can see that they match. So that's how you set up Q replication. We subscribed our tables, we set up MQ, we created our control tables, and we established DB2 connectivity, and now replication is working. We didn't have to take our application offline. Our application was still running and making changes while we even initially loaded the target table using Q replication. So thank you for watching.